our relationship to technology has been very much on a productivity talk. I want that result. That's AI level one. Everything you interact with, for example, ChatGPT, like it is being used to train it. You're part of the product. We're going to have a lot of free time. We're rapidly accelerating towards a more abundant future.
The creativity is limited by your curiosity.
Curiosity is the most valued skill for humans in the next 30 years. You're limited to your creativity based on what you know. I'm really excited to see what people come up with once we open these models to other applications. And the potential for these tools to augment humanity should be to extend your capabilities. There's a twist on it. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Start somewhere that you're okay with. The most common low-hanging fruit is.
Why do you think our listeners should listen to this episode today?
Yeah, well, so I'll do it Reid Hoffman style. It's you shouldn't listen to me because I don't know everything. If anything, you should take anything we talk about today and go check out and experiment yourself. I don't know everything. Like maybe I have a head start on some stuff, but I don't know you. I don't know your company. So best thing I can do is try to give you a very bird's eye view, the perspective from someone who's technical, who's been around all of this tech um, for a while, and hopefully like something will resonate with you. And if not, you can always come and check back and feel free to disagree. Actually, that's what I would get out of this. People who disagree and say like, "Oh, you're oversimplifying this or not." But once again, in a very Reid Hoffman style, you shouldn't listen to me. Listen to yourself. Go try out. Don't wait for a sage on the stage to tell you what to do. Don't wait to ask for permission. Just go and try stuff. If you get anything out of things today, is if anything that we talk about like hits you in a weird way that you're like, I'm curious about this. Go try it out. Like I don't know your company. I don't know your specific history. And the whole point about like how a lot of these tools are democratized nowadays is you don't need someone like me to go and do these things. I think that's the best thing. Like back in 2017, you had to hire someone like me and spend about like 100K just to get started. And now even Apple, like you can make your own emojis with AI. Right? I want a flying pig. Right? And you can just do it. Like back in 2015, 16, like you had my computer sounded like an airplane. Not that I had the best one, but I was able to do it like at the expense of probably I had to swap out like 3 times the batteries on my MacBook Pro because I was just abusing it. Now I got a desktop, which like I don't have to worry about the battery degradation. I just keep it on running all the time. But yeah, I think it's the perspective you should take on anything related to tech is the same as I would say with any futurist is anyone who tells you they know the future, like run, like because they don't have the best intentions in mind. I can help prepare you on how to think about the future and some of these technologies and how to think about them and how to approach them. But I am by no means like the expert on your specific case, and that's where your humanity comes into play.
I like that because one thing that I've learned from the startup world is that you don't have to ask for permission. You can ask for forgiveness, but not for permission. And nowadays, with with these AI tools, you can do it yourself. You just sometimes people are like, "Oh, but what do I do with that?" It's like, no, as you said it, you experiment with it.
Play around with it. Obviously, don't give it your social security number, credit card, and whatever, because then they'll feed it to someone else. But like, just use some common sense when coming to them. If you're concerned about like as a company, like, oh my god, this what are customers going to do this? Then start somewhere that you're okay with. The most common low hanging fruit is internal projects, right? Like something internally, like how are we sending our expense reports? Something as boring and simple as that. But then it's okay, how could we make it better, right? Like how could we make it easier? And then you start looking at what are the primary like objectives that you have, right? Some people, what are you willing to sacrifice? Like there's not going to be like a no trade offs kind of solution, right? Like you need the same as when you have a new hire. Like how does the intern become like a full on employee? Like you need to start trusting them that you're not going to handhold them You need to trust that you did a good training. But if you want to always hold their hand and be like, I want to know everything you're doing, that intern's going to probably leave and never become a full time employee. Or if you hire them, it's going to be very expensive for you because then you need to take into account in their salary the time that their manager is like babysitting them. So the same thing with AI, like don't babysit them, but just be very clear about like where are you cutting it off. Like I always like to think about people like think about augmentation before you like fully outsource. And it doesn't even have to be AI, right? It's how would you put those checkpoints where you have like a responsible adult big quotes around it, who will check and be like, okay, we're not going to send an invoice to a client before checking, like, oh, dude, like, you put the like, you're not putting the cents in the right place, so we're charging them 10x less or 10x more. It's something as simple. Like, I remember the first time I used like one of those like credit card readers, and I was so happy this is so quickly. I was like, how much are you charging? 10, and I was like, $10, right? It's 10, obviously. Nope. Turns out like it's 1000, and I didn't know it. And the first five people I charged them like pennies. I learned that really quickly because I had to pay for it, and I got screamed at. But then for
Of
me, it was
course.
like this is terrible design.
Yeah,
Like, because I even told the manager, like, bro, none of our things have anything that is not rounded off. Like, we don't have like 1999, whatever. Everything is like, I don't know why they priced it like that, but everything was like five, just flat out five, like
yeah.
12. Like, I was like, this is terrible design. Like, it's not my fault that you design. Like, yeah, I should have read the screen better, but like, this is poorly designed. And then that's where the human element always comes back into like oh, should I be scared? Like, you don't throw like a baby just into the water to swim. You start little by little, floaties, basics. Like same thing with treat it. I don't think you need to treat it differently to like a new hire or an intern. Like treat it like an intern you don't know if they're actually the real deal or they're just like the kid that just needed the money.
There are several points that I could make a comment in there. One of them is for B Corps. I was working with a client that they straight on said like, "Do not touch this," and then they built their own bot, which was OpenAI. It was ChatGPT in there, like with like probably one prompt on top of it, just saying, "Don't do that." And they were all afraid, "Oh, you cannot use the end customer's details in there." So people were like cemented, and they wouldn't even try. They barely used their own internal AI. And I've worked with other people that are like, "I don't care, throw everything and spit another document on the other side." That's terrifying.
So I think there's two very interesting things that you pointed out. The first one I think is the biggest misconception that like you need to run anything on the cloud. Like chat interfaces are probably the worst kind of interface. Like I will fight you on that if you disagree. Like a chatbot is probably one of the worst interfaces. But the best way you can think about it is you can deploy any of these pre-trained networks. The expensive part, both computationally and financially, is the pre-trained model. Okay, so there's a ton of open source models you can run on a server, just like the good old days. You can even run it on the cloud server. You spin it up yourself. Um, Now, what you gain by using a lot of these other tools is like you have API access and you can connect it to other things. So I would say for 90% of people, don't put anything that's confidential into these. If you're paying for it, but nowhere near the cost, is you're part of the product. So the big reason why the pricing is what it is for OpenAI is because they're training it on the I asked for this. Did I did the conversation stop midway? Did you continue? Did you say thank you? Which, by the way, millennials, we do give thank you. Gen Z don't say thank you to LLMs. So we can talk about that later about like our relationship to tech. But one of the things that is very interesting is this side of your everything you interact with. For example, ChatGPT, like it is being used to train it, and even on the higher spectrum, you're not. Some APIs you might be able, if you have a direct relationship with OpenAI, they could have it that you're doing it via API access that it's not used to train. but you're gonna pay extra and a pretty penny, not small cost. So I would say this is where it comes on, like the what is it that you're asking it to do, where is it that the AI comes in, and probably most things it's just a matter of give the task to the AI, it spits something out, and then you put it somewhere else. That doesn't need to be AI that is not being used to train. Like DocuSign has very friendly APIs where like you can give it parameters on like the I'm giving you this, and that's gonna templatize it, and then I'm gonna if I send you information to this template, then fill it out this way, and that is the first part towards like anything that's automation. It's OAO. I don't recall where I learned that, but it's optimize, automate, outsource. Before you can optimize anything, you need to know what you're doing, right? Um, and that will determine do I need this huge thing, right? Do I need to spend making my own chatbot, or is it just I'm going to throw it out? Every company needs an AI policy. I think that even if you're a startup, you have 3 people. I think you should all agree on how you're using AI, what's cool to give it, what's not cool to be feeding into it. And even like most successful companies, they actively encourage people to use AI. Like I'll reward you, right? Like it's not the fear of oh, if my boss finds out that I'm doing 2 people's worth job, like I'm just sending it over to an AI and I'm just watching memes all day. I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna get more work thrown at me. Like no, like they'll encourage, and you'll probably find work that's more encouraging, more rewarding for you. But yeah, like I don't think most people need something outside of it. Like if you're using, let's say you're a lawyer, you're using confidential data, you haven't analyzed like a court case, just spin out like Facebook's like Meta's Llama is open source, and I would say it's comparable for 99% of cases to what OpenAI's can do. And it's open source, so you can just download the checkpoint, and there's
Yep.
instructions on running it, or if not, pay someone on Upwork to spin it out on an Amazon instance for you, and like you have an AWS instance running with like the latest version of Llama, and
Yeah.
no need to program, and he can probably make a nice chat interface if that's what you want, and that's it. But it'll be able to spit out functionally for most people the same level of quality of content.
It's interesting that you said that because I've been I have tabs open for in my computer here. I'm even looking at that. Like it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and I recently installed Llama that I've run on my computer. And I usually kind of try to use that one first because it's actually pretty fast.
Yeah, it's
And,
not.
and as you
It's
said, it's like
free. It's
exactly, and
free.
it's free. And but people they like okay, like all it took me was I have technical knowledge. I'll give people that right. I had to spin up Docker.
Mm-hmm.
But all I did was I went to a YouTube. I found a guide. I'm like, I'm running my own AI locally. I'm like, okay, that's the video. I watched it. Like 10 minutes later, done. But that's the thing is like I've met a lot of people that all they do they have a ChatGPT account, and then I even talked to someone earlier in another episode, Julio Arango. He said most of the people that don't even use it daily, what they did was like, oh, write a poem about something. That was it. That was their usage of AI.
I think that's a beautiful usage of it.
From the perspective of the artist,
No,
wow,
from
it,
just I mean, they're using it. So this is the thing, right? Like who are you to judge what people use technology for, right? So my point here is most people will be fine not even an iPad, just like like a Kindle Fire. No like no I don't mean to burn like an Amazon, like I'm not trying to roast it, but like most people have a glorified email reader. Like
oh
how
yeah.
many people who have a MacBook use the MacBook's GPU and CPU to its full extent? I'll tell you how much, even I'm running something while we're doing this. I'll tell you what percentage of the CPU I'm using while I'm training in like a neural network. I am currently using, well, I'll tell you, idle, I have 90.75% of my CPU idle. And I'm training a neural network. Granted, I have a pretty beefy computer, but it oscillates between like 85 to 92% idle. On my RAM, like I'm into using, uh, I'm using about like 40 gigs of RAM, and I'm using almost nothing of what I have right now because it's you have the compressed app wired memory and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm barely using the potential of the computer that I have. And have we ever judged people like like you have a glorified like email reader and blog reader? Like most people watch YouTube, read emails, answer
Yep.
emails. Maybe they write a couple documents. They make a call. Maybe they access like a sales platform. They have a video call. None of these things are computationally intensive. So what is different about how we're judging people using AI tools versus how they just use any device? Like your phone can run like I think starting from like iPhone 12 Pro, you could run AI models. Like Apple had frameworks to train neural networks on your phone.
That's crazy.
Like what's the difference? Like if someone wants to use it to like write me a poem, I don't know. Mental health is an issue, right? Like maybe they want to process. Like some people look at the sunset. Other people are like the I'm struggling. Can you write a haiku? Like I can tell you things I'm struggling with. Can you write in a haiku and I'll remember it? Like I don't know how to write haikus. Probably I do. That's probably a haiku, but that just shows you how little I know about haikus. And but the thing is here is like the who are we to judge what people should be using a particular tech for?
My point is not even judging, it's just using it once.
They downloaded it.
But it goes back into the experimentation, I think. That's, I don't know, that for me, it's my mindset. I'm like,
Ooh,
if
okay.
there's something new,
Okay,
I'm gonna try to break this. Like, maybe.
I'll give you a secret. Okay, and this applies for anything and everything. You're limited to your creativity based on what you know. Okay,
Okay.
so it's a twist on it. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
Most people, the fact that they're using it to write a poem tells you wouldn't use Google to write a poem. So for me, that shows better understanding of what an LLM can do than someone who's trying to have it write a marketing copy for me. Because the potential for these tools to augment humanity should be to extend your capabilities or to enable you to perform certain things you don't have the full knowledge for, but you have awareness of what you need to do. Similar to the people who are just looking for how can I monetize this and I'm gonna write a like there's so many like I don't know if this needs to be PG-13. There are very poor quality books on Amazon's Kindle store that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
obviously written by AI, made
Hmm.
by I think you mentioned earlier like made by fake people that you just come up with a persona. You can do a full social media profile on them. You can generate video on them. You can have them read with a voice that's a mixture of stuff. You can make a fake person telling something about a book. The thing here is if that book helps you achieve whatever you need to do, what's the difference between a human doing it and this tool doing it? Or if this person, they don't need to, like, if my experimentation is, I'm not comfortable yet on using it for my business, but I'm okay with it doing poems for me, that's a good example of you're using it for something. That
Yeah.
beats the people who are like, this is evil, this, like, choose your the reason why it's evil, right? Like it'll be the
Hmm.
doom of us. Like it's not what God intended. It's not ethical, like the way they trained it. So it comes back down to what is the reasoning behind like what is a good use of AI, right? Like if I'm
Hmm.
experimenting and I used it once and I close it off, okay, is it that I'm lacking examples? Is it lacking inspiration? Is it that I haven't used it? Because I don't know, like the more I lean into something. So my wife's a singer, and yesterday we had the experience that I didn't even know there was something called a writer. I don't know what that was. And it's basically when a band is performing somewhere that someone else is doing the audio and the setup for them. They tell them this is how we're going to be laid out in the stage. We need this kind of speakers, this kind of amp. We're bringing these things. You guys need to provide these things. I had no idea, and I was like, wow, like this is actually like when you walk there you should see that on stage. Like I don't know, I had never thought of like how do bands set up when you have like the opener and then you have another band and stuff. Like how do
Hmm.
they know where things need to be? Because you don't have time to be like, oh no, this is my amp. Bye guys, like I'm taking now. You bring in yours. Those
Yeah.
things weigh a ton. So my point here being, I didn't know about that, and I could even tell her like from an engineer's perspective, like, oh, I could think of a bunch of ways that we could improve this, but I didn't even know that was a thing. It's not my field, so I don't know anything about it. Now that I'm aware of it, I could help you, like, because there were like some things that weren't set up properly how we requested them, but they were like, oh, we didn't understand what you meant, so we just ignored it. Like, because like that's how roadies are. They're like the, what the heck is this? I don't have that cable. Like, I'll I'll just give you an XLR. You figure it out. Like you figure it. I'll leave it here. You figure it out from here to where you're playing. That's your thing, dude. So I think that if a person all they see is this, is because first of all, for me, that's already a good sign that they at least heard about it somewhere. They
Hmm.
downloaded it, they made an account, they started interacting with it. Um, but hey, if that rocks your boat and you want to use it just for that, like I am all for it. Like that's what these tools are for.
Interesting, an interesting perspective, because for me it's like I have this thing here and I can explore it. And one of the ways that I use the most is just like asking questions about topics that I don't know, because it's just faster than going through Google and like I don't know about this subject. It takes forever. And like at least I get a bare minimum understanding, and then I can go through Google, and then I'm like, okay, let's see which books are more related to this, so I don't get to be as ignorant to the
Mm-hmm.
core of the
Well,
meaning of
that's
the
not me. That's a
yeah,
fact. Like if you're ignorant, that's
yeah.
not no bad connotation. You just
Exactly.
you don't know it.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah,
I'm going to call myself ignorant.
objectively speaking, like you're.
Exactly. So I know I am completely ignorant in that thing. Um, and one of these days I was walking my dog. Well, not one of these days when ChatGPT came with when you the 4.0 came.
Mhm.
I went for a walk and I'm like, you know what? I'm super ignorant about this thing about string theory. I have no clue what that is. And I'm ashamed. I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out right now. And then I started talking to the thing, right? Because I had just seen how it was happening, and as I was walking, I'm like, okay, but what's the relationship with like black holes? And I'm like, and I started to have like all these questions that I always asked myself, and I had no clue even how to ask Google or something. I didn't have anything. But suddenly I'm like, oh my god, it's like this is huge. It's like, but what about dark matter? What's that? So it started to bring me all these questions that I forgot about then, and I was like, yeah, let me be ignorant in that area because I don't have. To. And it was like I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes walk, and was everything top notch? Did I go and check the facts? I'm like, no, not really. I was just taking a walk. But I feel like at least some of my fundamental questions in the subject are like, okay, now I kind of like have an idea. I am less ignorant.
So I love that you brought this up because I was struggling with that in the morning, my morning meeting with a client. Because they literally they came to me with we don't know what we need to do, but we know we need help. So they were like, I don't know if what we need is digital transformation, if it's AI. Everyone's talking about AI. I don't know. I'm old school. Help us. And the methodology we're using, it was developed at Singularity University. And one of the things that I laughed when I was checking back through the book, it was like, before you start, like we need to be on the same page. So you need to read like it was a list of like 12 books. And I was like, we need to kick off in 2 weeks. Like I can read 12 books in 2 weeks. Like I know I can do it. Can I internalize them? Can they, like someone who's never read, who I need to drag them through it, are they gonna read it? And I was struggling between should I give them like a, all right, I'm gonna sit you down like it's a conference. I'm gonna just spew like stuff at you, and um, and it was this kind of thing of like, do I need to know something to be able to execute something based on it? And I think that that's a delicate balance, right? Because I can go right now on any your LLM of choice, and I can ask it, "Hey, write me a marketing plan." But I think that most people are struggling because you don't understand why. First of all, so you need to do a customer persona. Oh, sure, yeah, I'll write it down. Now you need to oh, so we're gonna do a script for a sales call. Like, why? How do I need to understand? Like, am I gonna be like a robotic script readed? Like, are we any better than an AI robocaller at that point? So the thing here is the way that humans process knowledge is not exactly linear. First of all, like we build on what we know. But the most important thing is that what is that fine line between, for example, I can most people drive their cars and they have no idea about how their engine works. Right? They know they push a button that turns it on. They press this pedal, it goes forward. They press this one that stops. They move a lever and then they can go backwards and some other like small things. But like mechanically, like people know how to operate it. They know how it works. And right now we're actually testing that because we gave a group of the like we right now we gave a week for people. A group of them we gave them a copy of each book. And the other group, we asked for permission. We asked the authors because they were ecstatic because I know them, so I called them like, hey, can I try this out? So we grabbed the entirety of the book and we trained an LM on it, and we just asked people, your job is to ask it at least 300 questions a day for a week. Sounds stupidly high, but the reason why we were putting like or as close to as 300 as you can, because the thing here is it's not 5 questions and then I'm done, but it's the objective is you can ask it to guide you if you don't know what to ask it, and it'll give you some suggestions and then you can go down the rabbit hole. But the whole thing here is they needed to understand there was three big concepts that's the reality. And because I even interacted with it later and I was like, that if you had to give me like three bullet points that summarize the most important thing about like these 12 books. The first one was we're not living in a linear world, right? Change is exponential, and like everything, our brain evolved in a linear world, so you need to switch the gears because if not, the future will keep hitting you because you're just accelerating at it. So you feel it coming at you because you're accelerating. It's accelerating, so it's just a big crash. The second one is that change is a constant, not an option, which goes back to the same thing of like we're not linear, we're exponential, but it's like it's not when it's a matter of when, not if. Change is happening. And the third one was the one that surprised me the most about it, which was the most important about this, which was curiosity is the most valued skill for humans in the next 30 years. And this was 12 books getting them ready for we're going to do an innovation sprint, right? And the idea here is we're not I'm nowhere near uh, delusional to like AI is going to solve everything, which is why I'm not like it's tech agnostic. Like I told them, if we end up migrating from an Excel database for this to like a proper database in your language of choice, system of choice, that is good. Like I'm good with that. You're not going to see like flying cars in the parking lot like in 3 months. Um, but I found it interesting because like I'm really excited to see, and I can update. I don't know when you're gonna post this, but I can update you like by email. You can just text me, and I'll tell you how it went. Because we were struggling, right? Because the people that we gave the 12 books to, they were like, "I need to read this." Like
Oh,
yes, or at least half in a week.
oh
Whatever
my
you
gosh!
can.
Like
And
it
they were
depends on the person, right? Sorry, it's just like I know people that are like, when was the last book you read? And they're like, I can't remember. I'm like, what do you mean? Like for me, it was like yesterday morning.
and the books are well structured. They have a lot of information to have, but the same thing is like most people don't have the habit. They don't make the time. But the people that we told them just chat with it. Like you can ask it like, hey, I want to talk to a version of Peter Diamandis, which is one of the authors, right? So it'll like the LLM is set to just draw from his books from this list, right? And the coolest thing was that I've spoken to Peter. I've known him for a while, And I was like, this is actually, I mean, it doesn't have his quirks, but at least in terms of like his spiel from his books,
Hmm.
um, and I love that his titles are kind of like the future is faster than you think, right? That's one of the first ones. The other one's abundance, which is kind of like the whole idea for him is, and this is very clear for him. It's like we we've throughout history we've been faced with like a scarcity based world, right? That's when like scarcity drives value. What happens when we have technologies, a combination of technologies that allows you to just everything becomes abundant, right? Like you know the way you use your internet and your phone when you're out and about versus how you're at home, where you have like three YouTube videos loading and then you have something else and I'm downloading something from a not so legal format here, but it's there. I might never watch it, but I have it there. It's one of them the resource is abundant, the other one's it's scarce, the other one you're like no, turn off data, like no background app refresh, like especially the biggest extreme when you're abroad and you have roaming and you're not
Oh
using
yeah.
like one of eSIMs, you're like oh no, like I don't care about Instagram updates, like turn it off. And it's interesting, right? Because it's this thing of even the question with the CEO was like, do they really need to know this to run this like this process? And I was like, well, for me, it's important that I was like, if none of these two work, I want. That's why I asked the LLM. I was like, these three probably I would add two more: the scarcity, from scarcity to abundance, and the last one is I'm not sure how I articulate it, but it would be something around ethics, like how are we going to make sure that what we're building is good, right? Which is one of the things, like if you haven't heard the podcast I have with like Heather, it's a big part of my ethos is like designing joy into whatever we're doing, and kind of like if you're bringing joy into it, unless you're talking about like someone who has like a some kind of health issue, um, it's really hard to build something that's evil if you're building it around joy that's going to bring
Hmm.
joy to the user. It's really hard, like you really need to try hard for it, and a big part of it comes down to like it's not going to be harmful, right? It's going to bring someone to smile, like you might add like a little design joke, or like the unwrapping experience, which it's trash, yes, but like are really gonna like is the world gonna burn faster because we added a couple layers of paper, which is recyclable? Like no, just have some fun, have some glitter. Kind of like oops, you open the pouch, like your book is now full of glitter. Like it's the end of the book. If you slammed it too hard. But yeah, I think I digress a little bit, but it's interesting to me this concept of like should I know marketing before I ask an AI for a marketing plan and how to execute it? Or is it fine just asking for it and I'm just gonna follow your orders, sir? And I'm not even taking hallucinations into account. I'm sure that some of the things that the AI spoke with you about, like string theory, were objectively wrong. But
Yep.
are you working on something with string theory that it's gonna be life or death?
Exactly.
So that is like I watch sci-fi. Like if you think about like Star Wars versus Star Trek, and kind of like a warp drive would work, but like the hyperdrive in Star Wars would never. It's a that kind of thing of like the just let me enjoy my space wizards. Okay, like I don't need to like lightsabers are technically plasma sabers. Like no, don't leave my lightsabers
Or even
alone.
like, oh, it's in the middle of the space. Actually, there is no sound
Yeah, so
from
that
explosion.
explosion there shouldn't be fire. There's no fire in space.
Yeah, there's the
The Death Star
the
shouldn't have blown up that way. It would have been very unclimactic. Just let me enjoy my space wizard like story.
yeah. I think you touched in several interesting points in there. Like uh, one thing that comes to mind right now is the curiosity. Right? If you are curious, you're gonna learn a lot. I think you're gonna experiment a lot. And but I don't know, maybe it's a bit of philosophical moment in here too, but it comes down to how you're raised. Because there are studies that say that if your parents they didn't go to university, you're gonna have like limited kind of access to museums, for example.
Mm.
And that comes down to, and I'll be honest, my parents they didn't go to university. And the first time I went to a museum, as far as I remember, I was in my 20s. And that's when I was getting into university and my other friends were going. So if you get someone that I'm from Brazil and I know that there are lots of people that are poor that's like, I don't know, who cares about AI? I'm thinking about like what meal I'll have tomorrow or tonight. And then and what did my dad, my mom taught me? It's like, yeah, I will have a limited kind of curiosity. And maybe it was a bad judgment of mine, mock that some people were just using AI once to write a poem. But when you said about like we're limited by our the creativity is limited by your curiosity,
Imagination,
imagination. Yeah, yeah,
which stems from our curiosity.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. But that's where my mind went a bit. So in this sense, I think there is a way for us to start even teaching. I have kids, right? So I try to teach them to. For me, it's more important for them to experiment several different things, several different sports, several different kinds of art. So I teach them how to draw. Suddenly, my daughter picked up iPad and started doing animations, which is crazy because I started touching computers more with Flash and doing animations. But it was just the experimentation, and this is what I feel like you see adults see there, that there are like lots of tools and they have. My dad, for example, gave him a really cool phone. My brother's like, why did you do that? He's on YouTube, or he barely uses his email, but I'm like, at least now he's trying, because for him, his dad didn't go, my grandpa didn't go to university either. So I can see that, but I'm trying my best to kind of make my kids to be curious about stuff and not judgmental of the outcome.
So I'll give you. I think you touched like on the that was the perfect segue to where I was gonna latch on from yours, and I think it's. I feel like our relationship to technology has been very much on a productivity talk. Like when you think about like conversation from people, like the way they talk about AI and AI tools, like we always bring it back to like I want that result, right? Like I want more sales, I want more of this, I want more of that. But that's I would say like that's AI like level one. That's where we're at. But those are we're pretty good at getting stuff done with AI. That's like that. That was already very repetitive, very um and you brought up the iPad, right? Which was Steve Jobs' I think one of the genius behind Apple that people were like, oh, there were tablets before. Yeah. But Apple's biggest invention was the App Store. They made a framework to make it easy for people to build stuff. And they were like, we're not gonna limit your imagination. Like, what can you do with the screen, right? What happens when you don't have buttons you have to map actions to? Like you wanna make like a joystick? Build a virtual one. Do you want it to react to sound, like blow into a speaker, and that's going to make wind flow here? And that is what really made the App Store flourish. And I had the privilege of going to one of back when it was still in person, Apple's like worldwide developer conferences. And I remember asking to one of the UX designers there, like in one of the workshops, like, how do you guys think about like building the frameworks so that they're robust but they're not limiting? And he said, "We don't. Like we build for robustness because we don't want the app to crash because that's our main priority. Like from an Apple point of view, we build a like even when it crashes, like that whole thing of like if it's crashing, it just quits the app and brings you to the home screen. I don't know if I remember getting freaked out when I saw my dad flip out with the blue screen of death on a PC, right? Like even the experience on there. And a big part of where it comes to like creativity and fostering creativity, like I agree with you that like coming from Guatemala, like most of the population here is living under like extreme conditions of like hunger, like no access to like I don't even think about like electricity, right? Like we're not even getting to internet, like running water, like it's a shame how much people die of like malnutrition or like from diseases that were caused by like drinking like unsanitary water. But there was a project that I'm involved in here that we're basically building like tech cities. So schools that have like tablets, laptops, like we have Starlink on them now. It's kind of like so, and the difference these kids have when exposed to technology, kind of like what I call technological literacy, is super important, right? And one of the main things is that they have their class time that they have to use the computers for, but each kid has 30 minutes a day of whatever you want to do. Granted,
Oh,
guardrails around like your kid, so no naughty stuff. But 30 minutes, and at first it was like the 30 minutes. That's a lot. And I was like, no, 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 let them be. And as you said, right, like when you go down those rabbit holes of like, oh, what's this? What's that? How does this work? If I get to use this tool, and for me, the biggest example is when I talk to people about like VR, and everyone that I see that's like, ah, oh, this is garbage. No one will ever use it. I'm like, have you put on the VR headset? My first VR experience was at a Meow Wolf Expo in South by Southwest, and to this day, I think it's been one of the most transformative experiences. So they had you put on a vest that it was connected to like a lot of pipes with water. I was like, "What is this whole thing?" I look like I feel like it's a sci-fi movie, and they put the VR headset on you, and we did have a controller, right? And because it was nowadays, I think they probably could make it better, but it was just an image of like all you were doing is you were walking, you were at the entrance of a cemetery, and you were walking down to a tombstone. You were leaving flowers, and each time you went, it felt harder and harder and harder and harder until you told them like I can't do this anymore, because they kept pumping. It was actually lead. It was water they were pumping, so it got heavier, 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 and the whole expo was like the weight of time. And for me, it was like that. I could feel I was doing the same thing, but I was even though I wasn't even walking physically, right? Like you had to lean down to put the flowers down. That thing they did have that you had to put the controller down and you had to pick it up. And it was for me, it was like these kind of immersive experiences were fundamental for me, being like the even just something as simple as that. Or there was that same expo had another one where you had headphones and you were sitting on a bench and it was you could hear a park, and it was and they had like some flashes of light and stuff. But the idea was like you having the vivid experience of what it's like to be a blind person in a park. So they had a weird thing where you could have like smells and stuff, and it was like the and for me it was a really immersive experience. Obviously, it's more on the artistic side, and it was like you forget about like the heavy like headset. Like I wouldn't wear that all day and stuff, but then you see the potential for like okay, that's the kind of VR experiences that I'm like the those kind of things for like art and expression, like transmitting the human experience in different ways. Like, what is it like to be like a kid in like in Ukraine right now, right? Like, what's it like living like oh, there's a like a air raid alarm similar to what people in World War II experienced with their bombings and stuff, and like just being able to for me to collectively capture and have other humans experience like these not so pretty parts of the human experience, I think that have a great potential. But if you've never worn a VR headset, you see it as like, what am I gonna do? Like just to have the screens here and like that is one of the most boring aspects of like VR. Like that's just productivity, productivity, productivity. And I think that the biggest we're gonna have a lot of free time as humans. I think my most bold prediction right now in like the next 5 years is because a lot of people are like, oh, entertainment and stuff are going away. No, no, no. Like we're gonna have a lot of free time. Like we're rapidly accelerating towards a more abundant future, and what that means is that you will have a lot of free time. You will probably be making more money in different ways with less amount of work. So for me, it's like, especially like you mentioned, kind of a lot of your audience was like business owners who are thinking of like, should I start something new? Should I, or someone who is working at a company they want to start something. For me, it's like the best time to start is right now because you can use these tools to leverage them to free up time. But part of that product that you're building could be something to be like the how can I tell my part of the story of the human experience, right? How can I have this artistic view on it? Right? It doesn't all have to be marketing and sales and like yes, it will help you. You if you build like an artistic product, you still need to sell it, you still need to market it. But when you think about like one of the biggest opportunities for me right now, it's like the how do I encourage curiosity? Most people don't know. This is part of my reason why like chat is a really bad interface, um, because it's a blank canvas. But like, why is it that your first like music lessons, it's not write a song, it's here's a work by Mozart. Let's learn it. You're gonna learn a lot from it. Right? You want to learn sight reading. Okay, let's. You don't know how to sight read. Let's start with like your ears, and we're gonna learn rhythm and stuff. Like we've done this process of learning things throughout time, but the interface of like start from scratch, like it's coming from a place where like I feel like the current setup we have, it's built for experts, right? So a marketing expert can 10x his productivity with a tool like this because then he can quickly glance at the marketing plan. This is BS. Do it again. Like, or it can have like the we were talking earlier about the announcement from OpenAI today on the more like reasoning one. Like, it can have a conversation, hopefully soonish, with it on being like the I disagree with this, but can you tell me more about why you're suggesting this? Like, I would suggest this, but please compare and contrast them. Like, why would this be better or not? The marketing expert still has that domain expertise as a marketer, but also as a human who is like the like I've never seen, for example, someone trying to sell cigarettes that doesn't smoke. Right? It's
Yep.
like I like for example, I don't smoke. I would not even know where to start on selling people like that. Oh, smoking is ABC. Like I don't know. Like I would suck at it. Try having me sell some. I would probably, if I was a salesperson, I'd be like, please don't. Like, have you read all the health, like the not the benefits, all the bad stuff that's gonna come. Please don't put this in your body. Like, sir, I want a pack of 12. Like, no, right? And I think it comes back down to like, what is it that makes you unique as a human? What skills do you already have, and what combination of human plus AI do you have, right? Because I think that most humans can have, like, for example, for sales, um, everyone knows how to sell in a one way or another. We've been doing it since everything from like, give me that French fry and I'll behave, mom.
Yep.
Like, like I'll go to bed if you give me some ice cream, right, or something. Someone had. We always negotiate from when we're little, but that doesn't mean that it's a good framework, right? But right now, the current LLMs, because of how they're built, you need to. The better your question, the better your answer. So it's not friendly for you to interact with these systems on stuff that you're not an expert in. And I think that that is a problem that is going to be very short lived. Once again, I think it's a problem of it's an interface. It's an interface problem, and that's what GPTs are solving, in my opinion, in a big part. And I think that if you're listening to this and you want to play around for your business, and that's what it is, start by finding a GPT, right? Like, find someone. A lot of people have programmed them. Ideally, someone who has experience in whatever you're trying to use. Um, but I think that this comes back to, and it's a very long detour on the do you need to read the book to do this, or can you just like, no, I'm gonna ask questions on this. Do I need to be a domain expert? And I would say probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
If you feel like it's not giving you the answers you want, or the answers it's giving you are not working for you, it's probably because you don't know how to ask the right question. And this is where I feel like if you can, I would always consult a human expert, like not for them to execute everything, but they can set up the prompts for you, uh, or they can help guide you. So I think that, for example, someone who right now sold like bright identity packs and stuff, they'll probably become more like coaches, like brand coaches,
Mhm.
rather than doing the busy work of like who likes being in. I don't know what you guys use, Illustrator, or I was gonna say Photoshop. I grew up from Photoshop to Illustrator. I know there's probably something for making documents, but um, like, is that really what you enjoyed? Like putting it pretty, making it pretty? No, there was a thinking process. Oh, this is gonna be this way, and this is what makes your brand, and your brand is this and that. No, bro, like coach me, teach me how to use it, right?
Yep.
Uh, and then be very open about like this is gonna be done by AI. Like, you want me to do it by hand? It's the same thing that I have clients that I ask them like, do you want me to build something technical? It's gonna be expensive, right? If it's more strategic work, like I can do that. Like We can outsource someone to program it, but you want me to program it right now? I'm gonna charge you a pretty penny because my coding time right now is dedicated mostly to open source.
Hmm.
Because I want to make these things free and accessible for people, right? That's what I want. I don't want you to need someone like me to come and program it for you. I just want you to be free and creative, and like I'm really excited to see like what people come up with once we open these models to other applications. And most people right now we still need API access, but that's a matter of how we do it. But I'm very bullish on how can we pepper some AI into some things, and for example, toys. As you were talking, like right now we still don't have kids and AI is one thing, but imagine how you were talking about like the if you had a companion you grew up with that you have conversations about and just sparks your curiosity, like um, we were talking about kids saying thank you. Like you can have Alexa set it so that kids need to say thank you and please, uh, and it's the cutest thing. Uh, because it's like the what's the magic word? And I'm like, I just think Jurassic Park. And I'm like, like I see what you guys are doing there, but it's how do we treat this technology and kindness? But more than that, it's how do we spark curiosity, right? Like growing up as a child, like I was privileged that my grandparents had a huge library, and from the
Yeah.
moment I could read, their biggest fear at first was that I figured out how to climb into the bookshelves and hide behind books, and I had a blanket and snacks, and I was reading, right? And it was I didn't know. Maybe I grabbed some physics books that didn't make sense at the time, but later on I was like, oh, this seems familiar. I didn't understand what it was doing, but it wasn't all just fairy tales. There were some like serious books. Like I was reading like Machiavelli's like Prince when I was
Oh
like
my god.
11. Dangerous thing to give to an 11-year-old. I obviously didn't get the that it was a warning. It's not an instruction. It's on instructions on how to live life. But it's really interesting how like for me, I'm a very strong believer in this side that it's not just for children, right? Like adults, like how do you foster creativity with adults, with employees in your company, right? Because I think that
Hmm.
if you're looking for an influencer to tell you, oh, you can use AI for this, it's the same thing. Like by the time everyone's talking about it, is that going to be a competitive edge? Is it just becomes like the new normal, or is it something that you guys are figuring out how to use it creatively? Because you're like, ooh, I know my internal processes, and I know that we always, I don't know, Sweetwater. It's a online retailer of musical instruments. Funnily enough, the part of their thing is they send you a little baggie of candy, like just regular candy, like left like taffy and stuff. They just send it to you with like, I bought a guitar pedal. Here you go, some candy. And it's funny because some people literally they could order it off of Amazon, but they're like, but Amazon's not going to give me candy, and then just order it off of them, even if they're paying for shipping. Which is hilarious, right? Because for me, it's the same thing. Like, there's also a Mexican company that I just saw right now that on Shark Tank they raised money. That it's just your regular flower delivery, but it comes to dude with mariachis and like he does like a whole show. So like you can send it as a joke or like it makes like yeah you obviously have to buy like 100 roses and so it's like a really big bouquet, but like their what they built was a better experience and
Hmm.
the dude started selling flowers at like just like stoplights and he
Wow.
realized that when he was like uh, would you like to buy a flower for the car behind you? She's a pretty girl. If you give me like your number, I can write down your number and tell her like, hey, the dude from this car sent you a flower. And that's how he started with
Nice.
like the oh people like the got a flower for you. You see that guy in that car? Well, here's his number, right? And where it comes back down to is like the how many people like 1-800 flowers and stuff like the we've been doing flower delivery for so long and it's not a matter of you can order it online, but it's what he built is something that came out of a human experience, which was what what is it that you want out of a flower delivery experience, and you're not going to read out of a textbook. The same thing that I love that one of my business teachers always said, like no one was going to come up with Uber or Airbnb in a classroom. That's not a
Yeah.
book smart, right? So it comes back down to like what these tools are going to do for you is that they're just going to accelerate it. Obviously, I would say use it until you hit a wall, right? Like basics of marketing, really short tail. You have 3 customers. No one's going to care if your logo is just like plain old Helvetica done in like pages, right? As long as it's readable, as long as it does what it needs to do. But later on, when you start doing like, ooh, can I do some unboxing stuff, or do I need the logos, or I'm eco-friendly, so no plastic, right? Like, so how do I do this with paper? What kind of ink am I using? Questions that you probably never asked. Like, then you get a sustainability marketing expert who's going to be like, no, 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 don't do this, don't do that. Like, your data centers need to be like eco-friendly. They need to be like carbon positive. Oh, sorry, carbon negative. So that like
Yeah.
they and this whole array of things. Like I used to have like a toothpaste brand that was like just like tablets. You chewed on them and then with a little bit of water. And I remember the first few orders that I got, customers were like, "Oh, you sent a postcard." For me, it was a nice postcard of like the "Hey, like thank you, your purchase is helping. We're donating money to like turtles and stuff." And they were like, and we got angry emails back like "This is wasteful," and we was like, "Oh God, I did not understand the client as well as I thought." And then when we worked with a branding agency there that specialized on like more like eco-friendly products, we were like, "Yeah, like that's part of your market, right? That's what they care about." So
Yeah.
if you're gonna do this, you need to take attention to these details. But that's when an expert came in perfectly. And these LLMs, like they seem like intelligence, but what they're really doing is they're just grabbing stuff that they've read somewhere and they're just putting tokens back, like words in a set. That's why sometimes you get like real. If you ask it something for something really fancy and you ask it to quote from like college papers, of course it's going to have like very fancy words, right? If you ask it to dumb it down to fifth graders, then you get like bloggers that might not be experts. And if you don't tell it anything, then it's just being a hopscotch of like very fancy references to like just a random The Onion post that was completely sarcastic, but it doesn't know sarcasm, right?
Wow. You touched so many points in there.
Stop me when I say something good.
No, no, no. It's just it's interesting to follow your train of thought, right? I think one of the things that I wanted to just get back, and then you kind of mentioned some parts of this when we're talking about the kids having the time, the free time to do things. And I want to also connect with me and my parents not being too creative, and you're talking about having books as well. One cool thing that my mom mainly, she would, if we wanted a book, she would buy it. And then like I remember like we would have like these book fairs at school, and I picked one that was like way above my grade of reading. Right? She's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like the cover." She's like, "Okay." It was for teenagers. I don't know, I was 7. And that was like my mom studied, I think, at that until like in Brazil was 8th grade. Right? Wasn't even high school. And that was the way that they did it, but it influenced me to a point that I became like more curious about stuff. But if I don't have that, and if I don't have a friend, for example, and now I have a phone, and I'm thinking some modern families where mom and dad super successful, and then they either have a nanny, but the nanny is on their phone, and then the kid it's a single kid. Suddenly they want to kind of like, they don't have a friend, but they are a bit curious, and then they go to this AI and start talking to the AI. And unlike our conversation, because like I'm having a good conversation with you, but I may disagree with you. It's like, this guy is full of. But then what we say is that, oh, these AIs, they're so intelligent, and people like believe that. So sometimes I'm afraid of, as you said, not having guardrails with the kids and the tools. Like this kid alone, maybe like going crazy and nuts with this AI, and maybe they find other types of AI. We know, like if you go in in the dark web, you can get like really crazy other AIs. Like, I don't know, they may find out how you go, how you go and find these other ones that, oh, they don't have barriers or anything. It's like this one part that is scary. I wouldn't not use it, but just wanted to
So what
my
you're
mind.
saying is like people's fears over like AI, just assuming the AI is right and kind of taking it as like because the AI said it, it must be right.
Yeah,
So this is where it comes back to down to like technical literacy, right, and technological literacy. I would say more. If your uncle's already sharing like obviously AI because it's already a reality right now. Like election seasons in the U.S., we've seen AI generated posts and AI users bots interacting. I think that the biggest way to you're gonna laugh at my solution, but it's like have contact with humans, touch some grass, right? Because I think that one of the biggest threats is that you shouldn't trust any single source without questioning it, regardless if it's technological or it's a person. And that ability to have discourse, I think that it starts at home, but schools are probably gonna feel the biggest shift that school is no longer like I think we're way past the idea that like school used to have this monopoly over access to information. And I think that I would highly recommend someone can has a book on like AI and education that I would highly recommend anyone to read it. I can check the name of the book in before we finish and I can tell you. But one of the things that he talks on is like the biggest asset that other human being is their ability to have a different opinion than your own.
yeah.
Because that's what makes you grow, right? Like if you're just gonna be in that like algorithmic black hole where you're surrounded by people who agree with you, it's as dangerous or even more dangerous with AI. Because the way you ask AI, it'll identify. Because remember the same with like, what's Google's main objective when you do a Google search?
For me, it's just find some information for.
It's giving you whatever you're looking for.
Yeah,
That Google's point is, I gotta. You need to be for Google. It's a failure if they didn't get to the link you wanted in the first three, besides the sponsored ones. But the first three results, the first ones you see, those should have your answer. Like a ridiculous, like 99% of the times, they have a standard that it's like ridiculous. But the thing is, they're not trying like they're trying to satisfy that. They're not questioning whether what you're asking is correct. They're not fact checking it. They're not. Now amplify that to LLMs where it could be making it up because what is an LLM's job? Like what it was designed for? Give you an answer.
just answer. Yeah,
There's no like, hey, I'm gonna ask you for some clarifying questions. Like, what do you mean by this? Like, is you're asking this, but do you mean this? Like, nope. And that's where I think like the new release is probably going to be a bit better at that, but it's still not going back to the human aspect of like, do you know how to ask a question? I would say 90% of the people I know don't know how to ask a question. Um, I forgot the name. Berger is the last name of the author. Like, he wrote two books, like a book of beautiful questions and a more beautiful question, and they were one of the most like life changing books for me because it taught me that I didn't know how to ask questions at the ripe age of 25. When it's just when I first read the first one, I was like, I generally don't know how to ask a question, like a good question, not a leading question, not just catching yourself in the act of doing a lot of things. And the thing is, most people recently it happened to me with like my father-in-law was like oh, by the way, did you know that stoicism comes from dogs? I'm like, what? Yeah,
what?
because people behave like stoics are like dogs. I was like, no, it's not. Stoas were these big open spaces where people just started talking. That's where stoicism comes from. It was like the don't worry about emotions and stuff, but it's more because it happened. Before all of that, it was those conversations happened there. You didn't have to be a philosopher to be a stoic, which was one of the big things. It was like the don't wait for the sage on the stage to give you permission for it.
Hmm.
And then he literally what he copy pasted was a OpenAI ChatGPT thing. And what he had asked it was literally that. Oh, does Stoicism come from anything related to dogs? What do you think the ChatGPT told him? The first paragraph was like, oh yeah, like there's some relationship to something about like the root word of like dogs and stuff, and that dogs used to lie down there. And then I asked him like, did you fact check this? Like, don't just copy paste whatever ChatGPT tells you. Like, did you go and look like what's the source for this? Like, is there a historical account for that's the thing? Because I can point to you to like 50 different sources about like the origin of the word stoic and like stoicism and like philosophy, and like there's these philosophers specific ones that said these things. They are the principles. So
It's
it's not a matter. It's not the tool. It's the human.
yeah.
The problem here is the human not knowing how to ask questions and how to encounter people, like how to have a dialogue with people who disagree with you, or maybe not disagree, but they don't have the exact same opinion as you do on
Yeah.
something.
When you started asking me about Google and I kind of thought you were going to one direction, it reminded me, it's like with Google, and it happened in a startup that I worked with. Whenever someone disagreed with you, they would go to Google and like, is this not that? And then they would find a blog post and they're
That
like,
says that.
look, no, 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 no. And so the confirmation bias in there, right? And I remember once one guy said, I don't know, I was product manager. I was like suggesting, I was talking to the designer. He said, yeah, let's use a pop up in here. It made sense. A pop up, I mean, like an overlay. And then I remember the CTO was like, no, this is bad. And then in 5 seconds, he fired me like 3 articles saying that pop ups were bad, like overlays were bad. And I opened the first one. I'm like, man, did you even read this? This is like an article from like 2009, right? It was like, I don't know, 7 years earlier. I'm like, you didn't even read. You just like said because you disagree with me. And now with the example that you gave, like, stoicism and dogs, I'm like, oh my god, I never thought about that. And now it kind of, and I thought, I'm like, maybe my conversation with goddamn ChatGPT about like black holes and dark matter, they're like bonkers, because I was like, is there a relationship between this and that? And yes, yeah, there is a way for you to kind of like. It
It's
was
just
always like
it's
it kind
answering
of
what you asked before.
exactly. And I'm like, oh my god,
So
right?
I found it. This reminds me of a keynote I recently gave at a conference. Literally, my first slide was I had a quote and I didn't put the author. And then I started off at like it was a made up. I literally asked ChatGPT to make up a quote that sounded inspiring about the future of technology, and then I literally put it like as a source. Like I read it in somewhere far away in a cereal box, or I just asked ChatGPT for to make something up. And people laughed because they were like, "Oh my god!" Like they were asking me, like, "Did you write that?" Like, "Oh my god!" Because I googled it, I couldn't find it. Like, so did you just write that? I was like, "No." Like, read it over. It makes no sense. It's kind of like it's just a hopspot. It's just a mix of like a lot of buzzwords that makes it sound like. And the point here is like I read it somewhere in a cereal box, right? Like the ChatGPT is like that, right? It doesn't know that it's wrong. It's just trying to feed you the answer that you're looking for, because
Mhm.
that's what these systems are made for, right? Like, and I think that there's a bright side to that, right? Because if you know how to ask a good question, it'll give you a good answer. The problem starts when you have humans doing that, and I think that where we can fix that, which is more um, talk about it. Set some if you're like if you have a family, right? Set some time and just like let's have fun with like an LLM, right? And let's see, and you can talk about how you're asking questions and what you want to do, and you can have that human process of like what is it that we're trying to do. For example, let's bake a cake. Okay, like I'm not sure I would take cooking instructions from an LLM as a parent, right? And you'd be like, okay, let's start, right? And then you can cross-reference on Google like the is it safe to eat eggs cooked under this temperature? No, but why that? Right? Let's ask ChatGPT, and then we can watch a YouTube video on like the unseen world of like germs and microbes that might kill you, even though you can't see them. Like I remember like the 5 second rule, like it's the stupidest
Yeah.
rule, and like I remember MythBusters doing it and being like the wetter it is, like it. the fraction. There's no way you can be quick enough that it won't get anything on it, right? It would, like, you
Yep.
feel good. Like everyone's been guilty of dropping something like, I really want that crisp, and you're like, no, no one's gonna see it, right? But you know it's wrong.
Yep.
Like even if you understand microbiology, and it comes back down to like make it fun, right? Like coming back to like how do you sprinkle joy? Like as a company, like choose something that's not business operation critical, right?
Hmm.
Like the how do we greet customers, right? Let's come up with like a list of like for sales calls, right? Like the let's just start the sales call with like, ma'am, I'm gonna have to say this word. Don't get freaked out. Like it's an exercise we're doing. I'm gonna say badoink doink, and they're gonna start laughing because it's like, oh my god, like I don't know why I said that, or like, and someone has to say blue blue at the beginning of the call, then you're gonna have them laughing. It's like, okay, man, I'm sorry, I'm in training. Like, I usually struggle with like staying calm during calls, but hearing you laugh makes me laugh. So now we can get started with the call, and maybe you could just test it with like one or two, or just internally, and then just you have a randomized list of words that made up words from like ChatGPT. You're like, hey, ChatGPT, come up with like 15 words that made up by babies, right? It doesn't have to be Ugu Gaga, right? Like there's many different like just whatever formula. There's probably a paper somewhere that someone studied, kind of like baby talk. Um, Fun fact, like I'm very excited that these kind of like we're very close with like a lot of audio things. Like we already have relatively well, we can't ask the whales yet, but successful like translations at least of what kind of message they're getting from whales. So hopefully in a future not too far, you'll be able to have like the dog. You know, he had the collar that translated what he was saying.
Oh, like up. Yeah.
I can't wait for my dog to tell me. Like I know what he means most of the time. He's like, "The where's my food?" But um, like he's a beagle, so I mean, I'm sure people with Dalmatians or poodles are gonna be more happy. But I know my I'm just it's just gonna be exciting to be like chicken, chicken, chicken. And then I bring in the groceries and he starts like sniffing and he's like just checking like what are you bringing? Ah, okay, yeah, it's gonna be a good day.
Would be cool to put in a cat like, don't look at me. I
See
don't
you
care.
again, like it's you again.
Ugh. I wanted to ask more about, people talk a lot about AI, but I think there is something that they should understand, that the difference between AI and you automating something that has nothing to do with AI, right? If you were to explain this to someone, more specifically, I think the case of my community is that I have a lot of people that are like in the late 30s, early 40s, that they figure out like, I don't want to work in the corporate world anymore. I don't want to work for this person anymore. I'm just like, but I'm too old to start something new, right?
Okay,
How they could use automation, not necessarily AI.
all right. So I'll give you the main difference between the two, and I'm making an oversimplification of it, but the easiest way is like automation. You have preset steps. That's why you first optimize the process. So an automation will follow very strict instructions on what it should do. So think of it like a drip email campaign. Like send this message, wait this much time. If they didn't respond to a call to action, then send this other email with a discount code or something, and it'll follow it without any input, creativity, or anything in the process. Like a human can intervene under tools to use, but the main thing is that it's a set series of instructions and outcomes that you control. There's no input, there's no changes, there's no creativity involved. It's just following your orders. And you first need to optimize a process. Before you can optimize it, you need to know the process that you're doing. So in order to automate, I would say like if you're looking into automation, I would start with like just grab a piece of paper and write down in just plain English what you do right now, and then you can start doing. Then you can do. You don't even have to go the whole um, operations engineering way of diagramming like the process. You just need to have it like step one, step two, step three, and then you'll be able to switch between kind of like, do I need a customer input? Do I not need to wait for a customer input? Do I need to wait time? That's the basic. Now, when you pepper AI into it, so AI systems are going to be able to, for example, read an email response from a client, and they're going to be able to act and set them on a different path based on the response. There can be not even emails; they can just be like a chatbot, for example. Some of these use simplified AI, so you can do a combination. For example, a lot of WhatsApp chatbot platforms have an automation process where there's like a path, and then some of these have options for people to put down like, "Hey, this is my problem," and it's just going to process the language and try to find like keywords, and it's going to suggest something. If it doesn't, then you can always fall back onto a human. But I would say that like think of it as like automation is just going to follow clear instructions. It's going to be very robust, very clear, no creativity. And when you put AI, you can have it be like the a bit more analysis, a bit more creativity on the AI side. I would always advise to design the process with a human in mind in the process. So don't just let the AI nilly willy, because that's how you get Canada Air situations where it was like the please reply with anything like you can get this for free, no taxi back, no taxis backsies, and this is a legally binding agreement. And the chatbot started replying to that because people found the loophole. So um, yeah, don't make sure you designed it, and you're probably the best person to understand your process and your customers and kind of like what degree of automation they're comfortable with.
It's crazy in terms of automation for someone that is still kind of working. Maybe if they work remotely, maybe they can automate parts of their job. I'm just thinking about like
Oh, I
to
know.
open up like space for them to start thinking about a side hustle. That's how I started doing it. Like if you have some manual stuff, you kind of like, oh, hey. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. I refuse to do this manual job, and then I have to start writing some piece of code just to automate that part, right? I if I were to tell whoever is listening to this, like I would start there, and then you have a bit of space to breathe and think about what you can do, right?
I
Like,
remember one of my first tasks at my first job was literally, oh, we need you to organize these Excel spreadsheets and clean them up and stuff. And I remember that was the first time I learned how to do a macro. Like I just imported the Excel sheet, just ran the macro, and then I didn't do anything for the rest of the day. Don't do that. Like you have free time to do something productive with the rest of the day. But um, that was me leveraging, probably not in the most ethical way, the my technological expertise. This was like senior-ish people. It was a very important paperwork, but they were just having me sort through documents, and if there was a missing piece of information, just like put it at the bottom and put a note on it's missing this. And those are, when you think about it, it's a very simple like human process. You would go line by line, okay, and check it. Like, am I really as a human doing any work that is like really like value adding here, or is it just I'm occupying space and time and resources that I could use elsewhere? And I think that the best way I think about it is um, start by, I think it's a good practice of even just writing down like your actions, and you'll realize like if you log it, you might think that, oh, what I'm doing is not, I can't automate this. Like if this is, I am unique. Every process is unique. Like if you break it down, for example, a client sends what they want in an email, right? And then from that brief, you're going to bring it somewhere else, and you're going to do something, or you're going to forward it to someone. You always forward it to the designer to start with something, but for whatever reason, you're the one in charge of the first email account. Just automating the send this email to Bob the designer while I work on my stuff might not seem like a lot, but depending on the volume you're getting, like you're saving 5 minutes, right? A day? Like if you're working Monday through Saturday at 30 minutes of fun AI time, right? Like just do whatever you want with it.
yeah,
And it's a very like it doesn't have that's this is where I come with like the power of automation in my opinion is exponential. Like it's not linear because like the more work you get, because if you're more successful, the more work you get, the more time it'll save you.
yeah.
Right? It's just it's ridiculous. So I love that low hanging fruit idea of like the start by automating something you do every day, right?
Yeah, it reminded me, like I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. I started being part of Toastmasters last year, And now I'm helping with the workshops, became the chair. And one of the roles of the chair is people will send a request to a workshop, and then I have to forward the email to whoever does the workshop. And I'm like, what? I refuse to do that. Like this is gonna no. And then I had to be the intermediate. I'm like, why we haven't solved this? Like it's 2024. Like why hasn't it? And then I'm like, no. So I went straight into Google, and then I'm like Google Forms. These are the workshops. And I'm like, how do I automate this so it forwards directly? I'm like, I didn't even know. Google Scripts, they have like scripts in there. I'm like, okay, when they submit this, and then I made like an object in there, like here's the title, this is the person. Here's the title, this is the person. Boom. I don't know, half an hour, 45 took me just a bit because I needed to understand how to do Google. But I'm like, this is insane. But a lot of people they just, of course, I have the knowledge, I have the curiosity. I'm like, okay, I had the creativity and the knowledge, and then the creativity to like, yeah, I'll solve this problem this way. But like a lot of people were just forwarding emails.
And that one's the good side. There's an engineering joke that like it takes an engineer to spend 40 hours automating a 5 minute task that only happens once a year. Um,
Yeah.
and that comes back to like I think the more you start automating things, the more you start seeing talking about like the familiarity with concepts. Like the more you start automating things, the more you will start to really understand and think about, and you'll see things that you can automate everywhere. Just don't automate the good morning text to your girlfriend or wife, like because they will get upset, or automating like ordering them flowers or something. But all jokes aside, kind of like this idea of like the just by writing down your tasks and noticing like that, oh, like do I really like? I know we order water every like we get a water delivered for whatever reason like every Friday, right? And I need to put the order in by Wednesday, and we always order at the very least two like jugs of water. So why don't I just write an automation that will at least you can start with like it'll send me an email because I don't see the notifications on my phone, but I check my email.
Mhm.
Just send me an email every Friday at this time, at every Wednesday at 9 a.m. to remind me to put the order in. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what is like the same question you asked me on like automation versus AI, or like where should I start? Like I hear all of this, I see all this tech, but I'm just working in an office. I have a desk job. Like I've been doing marketing for a while, or I've been doing sales for a while. Like coming from someone who's not tech, like who didn't almost like start when AI started booming up and like start happened to be getting into programming. So I basically had it shoved in my face and be like, "You should be doing NLP because this is going to be relevant in 6 months and most." Where would you say that was the best way for you to get started with automation?
It comes down, I believe that it comes down to a task that makes you unhappy.
That not having to do it will make you
Yeah,
happy.
exactly, exactly. Or it comes down to one say, I don't know who said that, like, but if you need something done quickly, you give it to someone that is busy, because that person's like, they're gonna find an easy way to get it done quickly.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
Because it is like, for me, my trigger was like, oh my god, I cannot believe that I have to do this forwarding thing. It's like there must be a more intelligent way of doing that. And one example that I can give is one guy that I'm working with right now, super great with SEO. And when you have to do that to give it to a client, you have to back it up as a report. And there are AI tools that create the AI tools. You pay like, I don't know, £200 to give a really ugly
PDF.
report. And then he went this morning. I was with him. I have this open door office, virtual office that anyone joins my Zoom, and then we start discussing. I started chatting to him, and he came in. He started showing me what he was doing. He took that app in there. He just exported it as a CSV. And he created a template using a Google thing tool that I didn't even know existed either. He automated the thing. He doesn't code. And then he went to ChatGPT. It's like, I need this. And then like, oh, it's not working. Oh, maybe because he was passing the token in
Oh,
the authentication in the URL. It's like, maybe it's because you're passing there. He's like, I don't even know what happens in here, but it's working. We can kill that bill. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like, he automated the thing and he saved almost £200.
right. I'll tell everyone in your audience like my secret tool for prototyping any kind of automation. It's what I call the glue of the internet. Zapier. Best service ever. So Zapier, it's basically their whole company is just a set of API engineers that build API interfaces for services that don't have API services. Or so they it helps you glue things with no code. So if you're like the when I get a new task in Asana in this specific thing, it's gonna trigger something. That's all the logic you need. If this happened, it's gonna do something, and you can just it's mind blowing how many different apps you can like just have played together, including OpenAI. Like they have an API interface for like Chat GPT processing stuff. So you could even personalize like welcome emails based on people's requests, or you could have, for example, a very lengthy email from a customer be read by like let's just call it ChatGPT for like simplification, but you can just have it be sent to ChatGPT and have that summary response be emailed to you alongside the original client's email, and that can help you break down like this. These are the three main challenges for this potential client. Or you can even have it score like judging on like you can have it run a GPT, right? Judging by like our pre-trained like existing customers, I would score this an 84 out of 100 based on these categories. So you can even train that without knowing how to code anything. You would just give it a population, and you can even just like you don't even need names. You can just have like age, like even what time, whatever you want. Like the more parameters, the better. And I think that it's remarkable for me like that most people don't know about this tool, and they like I'm huge on like no code. Like I think that the world doesn't need more programmers. My 2 cents. Like because the thing is, a lot of people go to coding schools and they become like lousy programmers when for me it's more about like the this logic of if I do this then this. That's very human. Like it's a very human way of like the oh, I am hungry, I should eat. Now the human parts comes like do you want chocolate cake or do you want to like have a proper meal, but that hopefully gets better as you get older, but then you get adult money and other things. But the biggest thing here for me is um you would be surprised. And talking about like creativity, I love that Zapier also has suggestions for triggers already. Like they have some pre-built like most commonly used triggers. So anyone here listening that oh I don't know, like I don't even know what I would ask an automation to do, you don't have to do AI. You can just have hey, if a new customer comes in, like what we were talking about earlier about like that wait 2 days and then send them this welcome email. Or if someone follows me on LinkedIn, send them a message 2 days later, sending them like, "Hey, I know this might be very forward, but here's I don't know if I'm wrong, then don't worry. Like, here's my website if you want to book a Calendly call to talk about anything about you." And then in that Calendly, you can have even more automation. So like when they schedule something, it'll go to your calendar, but also send you an email and it'll look them up and it'll look up the domain of their website. Kind of like the sky's the limit, right? I love for sales, like one of the my clients, one of the things we recently did was that like we outsourced to Zapier with a little bit of OpenAI the research on like who is this client. All right, we're going to scrape their website. We're going to see what they post on LinkedIn. It's going to look at their 10 most recent posts. And it's going to tell me like, oh, they're talking a lot about Mid-Journey is evil, like AI is evil and stealing from artists. Like, okay, that's a very different call than someone who's like so fucking excited about this. How can I teach more people? I'm gonna be given referral codes and like free tokens, or send me your prompt and I'll send you the images. I don't care. I have like unlimited. I'll just give you my Mid-Journey to use. So it's that's one of the, like, for me, Zapier, glue of the internet. Don't quote me on it. That's not their slogan. I don't know what their slogan is, so I just always call it the glue of the internet. But you just have a whole library of it, and the best part about it is there's a lot of people using it, and while they're I think it's a good place to start, even with just the free. Like if you don't have that many triggers, it doesn't get expensive. Like Zapier has a problem with scaling, so that's why I called it. It's a really good way to prototype, but it's the best no code automation tool that I know.
You, with your expertise helping businesses, is like, what is like the one-on-one lesson that you're gonna give to kind of any kind of business clients
Regarding
account?
automation,
Yeah, like I need help.
okay, regarding automation, the first thing is, might sound stupid, write down everything you do in a day and ask everyone in your company to just write it down. Plain old English. Just write it down. Um, so oftentimes, like whatever's painful, not painful, whatever you'd be happy to hand over to someone, like, but this is where it becomes like interesting on whether or not you'll be able to successfully outsource it, which for me is the biggest part. You can outsource it to an AI or to someone. Then you need to hand that instruction set, and you're going to flip roles with someone for a day. And they're going to try to do your job using those instructions that you gave on how to reply to a sales, like how do you go on the sales call, how do you do this. Obviously, some credentials and stuff like you'll, assuming you'll give them access to, like, if they need to go on the Zoom account and like get on that sales call, or just on whatever their voice over IP service. But the cool thing about it is it will tell you how well you can articulate what you do. Going back to current LLMs, current automation platforms and stuff, like they work well if you tell them what to do. Like in automation, like something like Zapier, I always go pen and paper, because Zapier will run what you tell it. If it runs into an error, it will just crash. That's a good thing about Zapier. It'll just crash and just be like, I got 50 requests that I didn't know what to do because the format was wrong. Like I had a name, but I didn't have an email, so I couldn't send an email. And it's just gonna be like, I don't know. It's gonna be like a toddler. I call it like Zapier is my favorite toddler, because a toddler is just gonna be, I don't know. I just walked away. I just walked away. Like no, like, oh, by the way, they're just gonna walk away. They're gonna, not my problem, man. Like you told me to press this, and I tried to press again, and it didn't work. But the good cool thing about it is you'll be able to not only map out which things might seem repetitive, but that conversation about like you're bringing another human into the loop and like, bro, why are you doing it this way? Like, nah, just come here. Same thing you're talking about, like, bro, you're writing emails by hand from a PDF. Like, we have so much software. Like, even your iPhone, you can just take a. You want to get lazy? Just take a picture of your like screen, and you can copy text off of it. Like, don't get me started on that. Like, but it's a kind of thing where like this is where a second human brain comes into play, right? Like that role reversal when you have someone else running your job is like you will accidentally have what you mentioned about the CEO. Like when you get C-level executives trying to do like tasks for like not C-level tasks, they're gonna be like, this is so inefficient. Like I wouldn't be able to do my job like if I had to do this. And so it'll become like a company-wide conversation about like why we do things the way we do them. Because I think the start of any digital transformation, automation, AI, whatever project you want to call it, anything where you're trying to bring tech to use it to make you guys more productive, make it less troublesome, make it more consistent, it's your choice. It always starts with like, what is the objective we're seeking, right? What is the balance we're okay with? It might not be perfect. The same thing, remember the intern thing I talked about early on? Like, an intern will not do it the same as you who's been doing it for 15 years. Don't, like, you wouldn't You wouldn't tell the intern like, why don't you do it with this refinement, right? No, you wouldn't. It's just like done, right? So which things are okay with just being done as long as you define that level of quality and always test it, right? Or you'll always be checking. Like the name of a company, it's a good reason why it's called iterate labs. Like no innovation process, no change process is a one and done, right? Like it's a series of iterative results where all you're doing is you're doing gradual improvements. And if you bring in something like AI, you might be able to get like an exponential leap between your leapfrogging things that other people went through. But in general, the principle stays the same of you're looking for gradual improvements. You're not looking for this jump, this huge jump in like of course if you were doing like door-to-door sales with like a little notepad and like no phone, no email, nowhere to contact other than I'll be back next Wednesday, like don't, right? So I think that, and don't be afraid if you feel like it's too small. Like there's no such thing as an automation project that is too small. It's whatever you guys feel comfortable with, because I think that when you start bringing like, oh, I don't have a budget, like free Zapier gives you like 20 zaps, right? So you have, oh, I don't know how many it gives you, but you can always make a free account again, right? Like another free account, because you're playing around, right?
Yeah.
And when you're ready to make the leap as like a company, then you can start getting more creative. But I don't think budget should be an issue, right? There's a lot of no code things. As you were talking about, I remember the first automation I did was literally using Google Forms to drop the results on the Google Sheets that then executed actions. Like it was scoring a test for a hiring process, and it would email that. It would like I would have something from Zapier read that Google, like the new line in a sheet that came as a result of the analysis, and that would get emailed to HR,
Wow.
like in a pretty PDF. And it was Zapier and Google products, which most people are, it's ubiquitous, I would say, nowadays.
Mhm.
And was the PDF pretty? Probably not. For me, it was. I'm not a designer, but no one complained. It was transmitting the information. They wanted. I don't know why they wanted a PDF. I was fine with text, but they wanted a PDF. So I remember I think I used Airtable. Yeah, I think I did a very convoluted way of like from Google Sheets to Airtable, and then those results on Airtable got converted to a PDF. But once again, I think scarcity is your best friend,
Yep.
because like scarcity makes you like constraints make
Yeah.
for like they force you to find solutions, right? I think that actually I'm glad that my thought process went there. Limit the budget or put some constraints around it. That will like not to the point of frustration of like you have like 20 cents, like find something if it's like you have a discretionary like $10 a month, whatever, or 15. Like if someone wants to pay for ChatGPT, they can. If they want to pay for Zapier, they can.
Mhm.
But give them a discretionary budget for them to choose. Don't tell them like you're gonna have fun and you're gonna do it on this tool. Like if someone wants to play around with Runway, they can. They can buy some Runway credits, or the people can pull up and we have a Runway account and we do some things there for video. Or I want to do mid. Someone wants to do Mid Journey. Uh, the one rule I would say that you should use for any automation and stuff is the condition is that you're going to share it back, because that automation that someone did, share your process, share your homework, because
Mhm.
you're going to learn more from the process of getting to the automation than the automation itself. Because then that's going to spark other people's creativity. Going back
Yeah.
to your imagination is limited to what you know, right? So that culture of sharing like little hacks, right? Like it's I think it's infectious, right? Because in the
Yeah.
company, and especially if you take people's fear away of like, if I make this better, like it's just gonna give me more work. No, like reward them. I don't know, give them like a free day, like for quantify it in some way, hours saved, and like give them some vacation time. I don't know, give them like a free Friday or something.
Yeah.
Because they already paid for it by helping out, so
Of
like don't
course.
worry about like the bottom line in that sense. um or you can just give them like you have a day to just play around with
Do what you
tools,
want.
like
Do what
do
you
what you
want.
want. Like I'm here to go get a pro Zapier account, just come up with whatever you want. And it's, I think especially like I love that what we talked about, it doesn't have to be AI, like just an automation can just be a series of steps that it does. I think that Zapier, what it will help you is that it will help you do those steps when you're jumping between apps. Like if you do something on Slack and then you send a command from there and you're going to trigger something elsewhere and stuff like that, or whatever. Like that's what's going to help you, because I think that's what I've seen some people get stopped by. Like, oh, but I use like 10 different tools. Like I get do this on Basecamp, I do this over here, I do this over there, and then they're like, ah, there's no way I can automate it. Nope, you just need glue. It's not
Mhm.
gonna look pretty, but it's gonna be held by like duct tape and hopes and dreams. But that's what most startups are built around. Like I think that I can go back to at least four of my clients that are now have raised money as like startups that we started as a prototype on Zapier, and they raised money with a prototype built on Zapier.
Well, it's the hustling culture of
It
some
worked.
startups. It
It
works, yeah,
worked.
exactly.
That's the thing. Clients didn't need to know that it was built on like sticks, duct tape, hopes, and dreams.
Pedro, oh, we could keep talking about this for hours and hours, but I
Like we can
know
be back more focused, and we will talk less about like
exactly. All
kids
right,
and creativity.
exactly. I like that. I like that idea. Pedro, for those who liked this chat, where can they find you?
Ooh, so I think best thing would probably be if you're listening to this, probably look me up on LinkedIn. It's just Pedro Ruiz, Iterate Labs, and you should be able to find it. I'm wearing orange glasses, not these black ones, but kind of part of my branding. They got discontinued, so sometime soon I'll have to change my branding. But feel free to just send me Gletsley as like a code name, and I'll know it's this. And like, feel free to ask any questions about AI automation. You want to know how to inspire your kids or how to inspire people in your company to use AI for good. Passionate about that. And if you have anything, yeah, just let me know, or you can let Leslie know, and he'll harass me until I'm back here.
Oh, definitely. That's a fact. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.